I'm sure it goes without saying that doors and keys have a symbolic connection. Doors can represent transition, in moving from one state to another. A locked door symbolizes privacy, withholding secrets and providing safety. In this sense, doors are empowering. But keys also represent power. They unlock secrets and open new passages. A loved one holds the key to your heart. Christianity references the keys to the kingdom, unlocking passage to heaven. Like doors, keys symbolize an ability to move from one state to another. Moving through a doorway could also represent a transition from childhood to adulthood. Which brings me to Locke Key. Writer Joe Hill describes the series as kind of a modern Grimm's fairy tale, about the way young people discover and construct their own identity. Artist and co-creator Gabriel Rodriguez believes that it's a story about growing, about discovering death, leaving childhood behind, and shaping your own self. It's about secrets and guilt, but also about love and friendship. It's about empty people who become enraged because they can't deal with their pain. It's about facing fear. It's a story in which magic is the key to new possibilities, but never the answer to problems that matter. And a story about opening doors and taking responsibility for the consequences. Rounding out the creative team includes colorist Fotos, whose work one reviewer described as a muted palette that captures the gloominess of Locke Key, letterer Robbie Robbins, and the series editor Chris Ryall. The series focuses on the Locke family. After the brutal murder of her husband, Rendell, Nina Locke moves her 3 kids to an old family home, Key House, in Lovecraft, Massachusetts. She hopes they can get away from it all and start fresh. But each of the kids, Tyler, Kinsey, and Bodie, deal with the loss of their father differently. When they discover Key House holds many fantastic and horrific secrets, they face unexpected, life-threatening adversity that will forever change them. The comic opens with a closed door and a butterfly, images that tell us what to expect, transformations, and mysteries. And believe me, Locke Key is filled with mysteries. Key House holds as many secrets as it does fantastical keys. To name a few, the Ghost Key allows you to astral project, the Well House Key invokes the ghost of whomever's name you speak, the Anywhere Key teleports you anywhere via any door, the Head Key lets you look inside your own head to remove memories or emotions, the Hercules Key grants supernatural strength, and of course, the ominous Omega Key. Each key creates inventive and fun moments, but also informs which characters carry and use them. The Lockes are a broken family unit. During and after a major family fight, the panels resemble jagged shards of glass, running parallel to the family's own broken nature. But each family member is broken in their own way. Tyler, or Ty, juggles with being thrust into a father figure role, blaming himself for his father's death, and worries about who he'll become. Kinsey is an emotional wreck that can't decide who she wants to be. Nina is alcoholic, unable to cope with losing her husband and being a single mother. Her children are forced to be the adults in the family, often cleaning up after her. Bodie is an adventurous little boy who wishes he still had his happy, healthy family. This is a stressful situation even for a regular family, and the addition of a cosmic horror magnifies it. Telling horror stories in comics can be tricky. According to Joe Hill, it's hard to produce the right combination of suspense and moral shock that makes for great horror. It's not surprising, then, that Locke Key, rather blatantly, takes its inspiration from Lovecraftian horror, elements of which include a New England setting, unimaginable horror, otherworldly creatures, and a strong sense of helplessness, hopelessness, and vulnerability. It's less about fighting monsters and more about psychological horror. As Hill says, the key is to push the limits psychologically, to bring the heroes and the reader into an uneasy, uncomfortable place, and force them to live there for a while. One of the comic's biggest strengths in building tension is Key House itself. On the one hand, it's a foreboding mansion with secrets in every nook and cranny. On the other hand, the house has such a presence that it's a character all its own. Using his background in architecture, Gabriel Rodriguez brings the house to life. By the end of the series, we're just as familiar with every room and hallway as the characters within it. So when something horrific happens, that familiar setting becomes unsettling for the characters. The deceptive safe haven of locked doors is in fact a prison. One question haunts everyone in Locke Key. Who am I? They struggle with their identity, who they were, who they are now, and who they might become. This is especially apparent in the comic's recurring theme of reflections. Often, characters will look into reflective surfaces, windows, pools, sinks, eyes, and of course mirrors. Lots and lots of mirrors. Appropriately, the key players in the series are teenagers. Questioning one's identity is a common trait among teenagers. They're discovering who they are or who they want to become as they move from childhood to adulthood. And that's an understandably stressful period. Kinsey best exemplifies this. In the first story arc, Welcome to Lovecraft, she reflects on her identity. As she explains, except now and then when I notice my own reflection and jump because I don't know who's standing there. It's funny when every time you look in the mirror, there's a face there you don't expect to see. Similar to her mother's alcoholism, Kinsey bottles up her emotions. In a foreshadowing line, she says, "I wish I could forget how to cry." And in fact, Hill and Rodriguez apply this idea literally. During head games, Kinsey recklessly uses the head key to remove her fear and sadness, because I am so fucking sick of crying. Hill describes this behavior. At some point in high school, kids will often become very reckless, and develop a willingness to engage in very dangerous behavior. We have that with Kinsey, in exaggerated form, and it's just an interesting way to look at a very common passage for most teenagers, a very common life passage. In removing her fear and sadness, Kinsey becomes more reckless, to the point of endangering herself and others. As a result, she learns a difficult but valuable lesson in coping with overwhelming emotions. Ty is arguably the main character. He struggles with his identity, but also with his father's legacy. Rendell's death haunts him with flashbacks and nightmares, and with others often comparing him with Ty. In the beginning he says, "I would rather be anyone than who I am and anywhere but here." Later, when his Uncle Duncan says Rendell didn't want you to come out of childhood with guilt or secrets or regrets, Ty quietly responds, "Too late." Through these hardships, though, Tyler changes from an impatient, angry jock to a quiet, contemplative young man. Even his Uncle Duncan jokes, "Stop thinking so goddamn hard all the time. You're a teenager. It's unnatural." One of Ty's ultimate epiphanies is in saying, "I wouldn't underestimate the power of regret. It doesn't feel good, but it's hard to learn anything important without it." For Ty, character growth means learning from your mistakes. It's funny that he took his father's own advice. "Kids, if you're here with me now, don't do any of the shit you see me doing. Try and learn from my mistakes." It's funny that Rendell unknowingly addresses Ty as a kid, since Ty is nearing adulthood when he actually hears it. The idea of childhood fantasies is strongly challenged in Locke Key, and there's no one that embodies this better than Bodhi. He's your average little boy, energetic, adventurous, inquisitive. But like his siblings, Bodhi faces more reality than perhaps someone that young should have to. Like other kids his age, though, he bounces back from tragedy faster than the grown-ups, and can still enjoy playing. While he doesn't necessarily consider the consequences of using the keys, he doesn't use them for personal gain like everyone else. As Rendell points out, the house has a way of picking a kid to show the keys to, someone with no malice in them, whoever is least likely to do harm to another. One of Keyhouse's built-in security measures is the Hans Riffel rule, named after a previous resident and inventor. As Aaron Voss describes the rule, no one who enters the front door of this house as an adult can see the power of the keys, not directly. Seeing that Bodhi doesn't abuse the keys like the grown-ups, maybe that was a good rule to implement. However, given the book's theme of growing up, it's interesting that Bodhi maybe suffers more than any other character. One could read this as punishing childhood, but I think it's the opposite. Compared to the others, I don't think Bodhi develops as far as a character. Despite all the hardships, he's still an upbeat child by the end, and I think that's the key. Bodhi's story tells us to embrace your childhood, and don't grow up too fast. One of Locke and Key's most memorable issues is a tribute to Bill Watterson, best known for Calvin and Hobbes. Mimicking a newspaper strip's 4-panel layout, Rodriguez's style strikes an uncanny resemblance to Watterson's style, which runs counter to the rest of the issue's horror. The Watterson style only appears when Bodhi is alone, highlighting his childlike enthusiasm. In the issue's final panel, though, Rodriguez draws him in the series' regular style, showing that Bodhi may have learned a lesson and endured another horror, but remains a boisterous child. If any character actively fights growth and development, it's the main antagonist, Dodge. He worms his way into the family's trust, pretending to be a friend, unbeknownst to them that he has a much older history with the family and Key House itself. Dodge represents someone stuck in the past, and is a lingering, painful memory. He represents the ultimate example of a youth with the worst stereotypes: manipulative, egocentric, a feeling of invincibility, a desperate need to be noticed and recognized. He uses, abuses, or kills every adult he encounters, like a bastardized version of a rebelling youth. Like a scornful child, he doesn't like being told no. It's kind of fitting that his master plan boils down to egocentrism. Rendell had the idea of creating a glamour key, which could change the way that people saw us. It would make people want to like us. Dodge takes this plan to the nth degree, wanting everyone, even his own kind, to worship him. He refuses to learn any life lessons because it doesn't directly benefit him. Locke and Key's ultimate mystery is whether the characters will carry the lessons that they've learned through to the rest of their life. Adults, like Uncle Duncan, remember their experiences with Key House like games of make-believe. So it's unknown how much the Locke family will remember as they age. Are these memories the key to the lessons they've learned? Or will forgetting them create another locked door? The first door we see is a flashback. The last door is of a well house, which is linked with echoes of the past. However, we see Ty walking away from those echoes, putting the past behind him without regret. As he says, keys turn both ways. You can lock something away, but you can also throw a bolt and set something free. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed my look into Locke and Key, and strongly urge you to read the series if you haven't already. I left Amazon links for each book in the description below. Before I announce next month's subject, here's the choices for September's video. Venom, Lethal Protector, since there's a Venom movie coming out. Sentinel by Sean Mckeever and Udon Studios. And finally, Next Wave by Warren Ellis and Stuart Immonen. Cast your vote on my Twitter poll, link is in the description. As for next month, The Death of Superman. I want to time it with the upcoming straight-to-video release of the new animated movie of the same name. I'm aiming for August 8th, but I'm also starting a new job next week, so hopefully I can get it done in time. Thanks for watching, and again, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.